Welcome to the Nerd Nook. I'm your host, Evan Teague. With me, like always, is the man who is skipping Comic-Con this year, Noah Bailey.
To be fair, I've never been to Comic-Con, so
It's not exactly easy to go to San Diego from here, so just day trip to San Diego, other side of the country. uh, but yeah, it was confirmed a couple days ago that both Marvel and DC are not going to be at Comic-Con this year. So
interesting.
Which, first of all, this year's Comic-Con was going to be a little weird anyway. Like, it was going to be a Comic-Con from home, like all digital live streamed thing. And I think it was going to be the day after Thanksgiving.
Ooh.
I remember correctly, which I always thought was a mistake.
I agree. Yeah.
But for whatever reason, I have some theories in a second, but Marvel and DC are not going to be attending at all. So, do you see a reason to care about Comic-Con much at all now that you know that information?
I mean, there's always something at Comic-Con. I mean, Comic-Con's like everything. So there's like, I'm not going to say that's no, those are like, probably the two biggest things I could think of off the top of my head. But I mean, it's weird. Like, it's interesting to see because like now it's like spotlight shines on other things. So maybe things that I might not have noticed this time, it's like, oh, that's awesome. Okay, maybe this is worth looking at or something, So
Yeah.
we'll see. I think it's weird though. It's like two biggest things in that very specific superhero field are like not there. But it's not like, it's not like, Star Wars and stuff like I know it's like Comic-Con, but still it's like the two very specific things for Comic-Con in the superhero category.
Yeah, it's not saying that like Disney and Warner Brothers aren't being there. It's
right.
DC and Marvel. So my prediction is that because both DC and Marvel aren't going to be there, some of the other maybe lesser known superhero IPs out there will kind of try to take its place, like maybe Invincible season 2.
Gonna go right. That's what I was thinking. I was like, now is the time. Like, yeah, because I mean, I think I don't remember what they said season 2 is supposed. I think it's like early next year, supposedly.
All we know is that season 2 and 3 are happening.
Okay, so we have no idea. So that would be the time to be like, hey, guess what? Season 2 is dropping right now. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I mean, that'd be huge.
I remember the original trailer came out about 6 months before the show aired. I think it aired last March-ish. So if it comes out around then,
yeah, March 25th, I believe.
Okay, cool. It comes out then again, dropping its first trailer in November. Makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be super hyped to see that. And yeah like that, DC and Marvel are both not in it. Like that, there's no one else out there. I mean, who can you even think of right now other than Invincible? So like, the show was very, only 8 episodes. It was like, it wasn't like the quarantine show, but like for a while it captivated. Everyone was talking about it for a couple of weeks. So like,
yeah,
I think it was also, definitely be.
I think that show kind of, it might sound a little weird because of kind of the show it is. That show kind of got hindered because the marketing for it wasn't fantastic, although that was kind of on purpose because you can't show 3/5 of the show, maybe even more than that, because of just they in the trailers they didn't want to like spoil much, and by spoil much,
right,
essentially by showing any blood or gore in the trailers, I'll be spoiling something. So like you could just show like very basic like Mark flying or Omni-Man existing or like Adam Eve doing stuff. Like essentially like you can't really show much. So the show kind of by the trailer just looked like another like maybe slightly more adult superhero show. But it's way more than that.
Yeah, there wasn't really, like I remember looking at it and I was like, oh wow, this is like The Voice but animated. This isn't going to be interesting, but it's like no, it's way better than that in
Yeah.
terms of like how it handles it, and it's interesting because yeah, like because remember we talked about with the first episode, you don't see any blood till like the last scene, and then there's like it's like goes 0 to 1,000
Mhm.
like very quickly. So I think
Mhm.
that kind of played into that as well with advertising because again, you don't want to give the fact like yes, the rating is obvious, but it's like that's serious till it got there.
Yeah. So kind of because of that weird, like the weird way they had to market it, um, it kind of felt like most people didn't jump onto the show until the last episode was out. And the
Yeah.
think mark meme happened, which was still a great meme.
It is because it's applicable to anything.
So like once that meme came out and it got really popular and people like in the comments are like, where's that, what show is this? And everyone's like, Invincible on Amazon, watch it now. And then they start binging it. It's a pretty like easy binge. It's only 8 episodes,
Oh
40-ish
yeah,
minutes
oh
each.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think when I rewatched with my brother, I think we watched it in 2 days. So I mean, like, yeah,
Yep.
it's like a really like quick because the episodes they're like 40 minutes, but they're it's only 8 episodes. So like, yeah, that's a pretty that's not even a season for a lot of shows. So like that's
Yeah.
pretty easy. But
So like hopefully with season 2 they'll be able to get away with showing a little bit more, just kind of more exciting set pieces in the trailers, have an even bigger fan base, hyping it up. I think just there's hopefully with a better budget, because like I love Invincible season 1, but like you could tell they didn't have the highest budget when it came to like the action sequences. Could have been a little, especially like on Mars, just looks like a sticker just like flying around. That episode particularly looked particularly bad.
Yeah, like it's like anytime there's like a lot going on in the background, because even the serious moments, it's like you kind of just see like stick figures or like kind of like little specks and dots, kind of, and it's kind of
Add
just like,
CG people, CG
wow, that's
cards,
like,
which are easy. Yeah.
yeah, I'm like, and again, I get it because again, this is the first season. They probably didn't have a big budget, so like obviously, when the money was spent, where it was spent, it looks good.
Oh yeah,
So if
like
there's
the
kind of
fight
like
versus
if
the
they can,
Seven, Omni-Man versus the
oh yeah,
Immortal. Omni-Man kills an entire planet. Like those scenes in particular just looked fantastic. The rest of the show,
casually, just
I wish
Dragon
had
Ball
that.
Z style. Just,
So good. He could have killed. He could have just
and
annihilated
again,
Earth in a
but yeah,
second if he wanted to.
yes, and like that's the thing, because like and that's the scary thing. It's like, and that's what I hope they do with the trailer. It's like they say, kind of like how they did at the end of the last episode, where they like pan to all the villains and all these things. It's like, oh yeah, do that, and at the last second, it's like Omni-Man just like comes back and maybe he's got like a friend or two or something. Like, you know what I mean? Like all this is so serious, but also like this ain't over.
Like that cable looking guy with the Thanos glove. That guy. He's just I
Oh my
guess like picture
gosh.
some. I guess like picture like the like the like the trailer for Invincible, like is running, like it's showing like very standard superhero stuff, like Invincible at the very, or like they do the thing where it's like I'm invincible, and then like there's an after credit thing where it's like you just see that guy flying down, and it's like, so I see that Omni-Man is no longer here. I guess I guess now like Earth is mine or something, and then it goes back to the Invincible logo, just like all red.
Yeah. Covered it. And that's the scary thing. It's like the thing about the show is like you literally like it's so crazy because like in a lot of in a lot of other superhero shows, it's like people like die, but it's not. They're like, here you see everything.
Yeah.
You crush someone's skull or just rip someone's limbs off, and it's just like, wow. Like, and it's weird because even if you're like the main character, like in like the superhero, like you're terrified because like anyone can get it, man. Like there's no like there's no like plot, there's no plot armor in this show, which I think is really cool.
Yes, like it is super entertaining to watch the Avengers or Justice League or any anime whatever, because like there is a certain entertainment factor knowing this character obviously is going to get through this, is just going to be entertaining seeing kind of how they get through it, how like, you know, either think creatively how to get through or just how they overpower their opponent. But there was also something just so satisfying about like you know when they fought Battle Beast, like not knowing if any of the people were going to walk out of this alive. Like, that was so cool.
Like you assumed Mark was going to make it because it's his show, but everyone else was expendable.
Yeah, even then, Mark almost died too.
Right.
Yeah, like I remember that episode aired, the episode where they fought Battle Beast aired the same day as Falcon Winter Soldier episode 4, which of course ended with John Walker, you know, brutalizing that one guy to death with the shield. So like going from that the next day immediately into that episode of the Invincible, like had me and my brother just like shook for the entire weekend.
You're just like, man, that's like, whew. Just took it. And then Omni-Man's just watching. At no point was he like, I'm gonna help him out. No, he was just like, wow.
I told him not to. I told him.
He's like, I told him, don't go in there. I said, no, that's a trap. And did he listen? He did not. Like, I honestly wish they had you know what I mean? Like, obviously your son's on life support, so you don't like lecture him. But like, I almost feel like I could have seen that. Like, Debbie, I told him it's not a good idea. And what he said, okay, you said I should trust him. He should think on his own. And look what happened. J.K. Simmons just going in. Like, oh my God. That's the thing. They really brought it. Like this show, the voice acting, great. The animation on the like specific moments, good. Like, yeah, background animation, like, you know, kind of terrible, but like you gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah.
Story's really good. Like, I'm just kind of worried because I'm like, how are they gonna follow this up? This is a really good first season.
Yeah. I mean, apparently just the Invincible comic itself, like the quality like gets at least the same, if not better, throughout. So as long as the show kind of keeps that similar vibe, like obviously they've already kind of shuffled some stuff around or like done stuff here and there that'll make stuff from further in the comics either already happen or kind of hard to exist now. But like considering how the creator of the comic is working on the show, either he'll make a new stuff or he'll make it work. Like, yeah, I trust him.
Yeah, I think they'll make more. Yeah, because again, like, and I think one of the big things I believe with storytelling is like characters. As long as they're not doing something completely stupid, it'll be fine.
Yep.
That's kind of what I believe. It won't be necessarily perfect or excellent, but it'll be at least good. Because if you love the characters, you know, like just going to the store is like a good episode if you really like the characters.
Yep.
Like, it's why everyone loves like the Avengers, like, you know, party scene. They're not even doing anything action
or the beach episode from Avatar. Like,
exactly.
So good seeing the characters that you know are evil. You know you should not like them, but they're just being normal human beings, and
they're all relatable. Like, who hasn't been Zuko at the party where you just like hate everything?
Or Azula like not knowing how to talk to people, but just, oh my God, so good.
Like incredibly socially awkward, and you're just like, okay, cool. That's like that makes total sense because she spends all her time talking to like military people. So like any kid thinks like, oh man, like like those are some of the best episodes. Like, you know, just shows where they just the characters just being the characters, and it's super entertaining because they don't, you know, or like the Tales of Ba Sing Se. You know, I don't think a single punch is even thrown in that episode, you know, except the guy trying to mug Iroh, and he, with that stance, like, like just roast.
Okay.
But no, you know, like that's one of the emotional like Iroh tale, but just because again you see the characters doing stuff, you know, like it's just entertaining. Everyone's in their element.
Yeah. So,
pardon the pun, as I realized.
So as long as Invincible is there in some way, there at least will be something to tune into. And there's obviously going to be other stuff. Like ComicCon is always more than just Disney and Warner Brothers stuff. But I mean, Warner Brothers also has, you know, a plethora of other different IPs they could throw out, like the next Godzilla movie or whatever else they have going, Harry Potter, something or other, I don't know. But I think it's gonna be fine that that DC and Marvel aren't there specifically because I think this year's DC fandom is happening sometime in October.
Right.
So like anything that they were to show at Comic-Con would be kind of redundant anyway. And then the Disney investor meeting, which they, you know, is basically just the Marvel and Star Wars show now anyway. That happens early December again, like right around the time Comic-Con would happen anyway. So they were this essentially, if those shows, if those individual shows weren't happening like weeks away from Comic-Con, they probably would have still gone. But because like we're doing our own thing, might as well just stick to those and not double up on this information. I think that's probably smart on their end.
Yeah, it's more efficient, and also it gives others, like, you know, maybe, you know, there's probably like Warner Bros. Idea. It's like, okay, specifically for you guys, like a month before. So why don't we let you guys just go in on that, and then we'll just have our other stuff. You know, we can, you know, take the light on them more.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's totally fine. And again, it's like, and it's not like we're not gonna, like, you know, be in on DC and Marvel stuff. Like, it's still gonna be like, just because it's not at Comic-Con doesn't mean it's like there's nothing to report. There's always gonna be something going on.
Yeah, like I've always found it a little weird that the like Disney D23 event happens like a week before or like very shortly before Comic-Con every year anyway. So like they never announce much at D23 as far as Marvel goes because they're just saving it for Comic-Con. But this year they're just like, what are we doing? Let's just do all of our stuff at our event.
Right. Which honestly, I mean, I know I do like the spirit of like Comic-Con and like, you know, E3 for video games, stuff like that. But at the same time, it's like, you know, if you have your own like platform for all your stuff, I mean, it kind of just makes sense to, you know, it's like, you know, that's not going to work. But like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just kind of like, it just makes more sense to, it's like, you don't have to share the stage.
Yeah. I think if Comic-Con can work out the kinks and have an in-person show next year, kind of more in the summer like it usually is, I think they might show up next year to it. But as of right now, it makes more sense. If it's just going to be all digital, they might as well just do it digitally at their own separate events.
Exactly.
Yeah. So Comic-Con will probably still be eventful, and we will still be getting Marvel and DC stuff at some point later this year. So win-win, you know, it's whatever. Continuing on with the Disney train. So we're not going to be reviewing Black Widow today because I'm not going to name names, but somebody hasn't seen it yet. I'm kidding.
I told my friend I can't see it without her. She got sick. It'd be like that. We'll see it this weekend.
But I'm
not gonna name names. Only other person on the podcast. Oh, that.
I can go ahead and report that opening weekend, Black Widow made approximately 218 million.
Woo!
Yeah. So, and they actually gave a very like detailed breakdown of the different like ways it made that. It made 80 million domestic, which is the biggest opening domestic since Rise of Skywalker, which is not saying much since pandemic, but you know, 78 million in the foreign market, which it hasn't actually released in China yet. There's some holiday or something happening in China right now, so it actually delayed by 2 weeks, I think.
Fair enough.
So that 78 will get bumped up significantly once it opens in China, but still 78, you know, in all the territories outside of the US as of right now. And then for the first time, to my knowledge, they actually announced the Disney Plus Premier Access numbers at
so That's
Yeah, at $60 million from Disney Plus.
ooh, yo, that's a lot.
Over 2 million people downloaded it on Disney Plus.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Even
Like it's
though even though we know it's gonna be like, on there for free in a couple months.
gonna be there for free on October 9th, I think.
Yeah.
But
So, but I mean, granted, there's a while to wait, but that's awesome. I
mhm.
mean, well, depending on who, it's awesome for, I guess, Disney Plus and stuff. I don't know if that's great for movies, but
I so here's the thing. I think this number is actually very encouraging to me because I don't think I don't in my heart of hearts, I don't believe that Black Widow would have made 218 million if it was only in theaters. I really do think that 60 million, at least half of that was people that probably wouldn't have actually gone to see it in theaters. That makes sense?
right. Yeah.
I mean, maybe in a like normal year, it maybe could have made over 200 million, but as of right now, clearly premiere access plus theaters for movies like this makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Not Cruella.
Well, they were obviously doing it for like everything. Well, okay. They didn't do that for, was it Luca or Soul back when that came out?
Yeah, Pixar movies for some reason, even though they constantly make at least
Excellent.
600 million, like yeah, good money.
Yeah, especially
Those
for animated movies.
yeah, those were just on Disney Plus for whatever reason, but Cruella
Mm-hmm.
got premiere access. Okay.
Yeah,
Um
I don't. I mean, if you ask me, it definitely wasn't worth it, in my opinion. But
um yeah, I don't
at the
know
time, maybe I shouldn't have done that.
if I don't know if the amount of the amount, let me think, because that $30 is essentially two movie tickets if you're going like at like prime
Mm-hmm.
time during the day. I'm not sure if logistically that many people would have gone to see in theaters as opposed to just spending the $30, just to to watch it at home.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that it did make 60 million at home and then also an additional 80 million while we're still kind of in like we're not like in the thick of it anymore. The pandemic is still
But
kind of
like,
going on.
we're like getting out of, like, slowly on our way out, kind of.
Yeah. Um, I think that's pretty encouraging. I think it is very possible that Disney will continue, assuming the movie does continue to do well going forward. I think Disney might consider doing this maybe even with Shang-Chi if they can at this point. I don't know. We'll see.
I think so, but yeah, I mean, yeah, but that's really encouraging because yeah, the opening weekend's been pretty like pretty great as far as going. Like, I don't know, do you think with this trajectory, you think it's gonna hit the billion mark?
It's tracking around what Guardians 2 was, which was like right at 800 mil. Um,
Yeah.
so considering how we were like, that's around what we were expecting it to be like around either Winter Soldier or Guardian, somewhere like around that mark. It might do insane in China. Um, there is also the chance that because it is on Disney Plus, like bootleg copies and stuff like 1, 2, 3 movies and other places like that where
Mm.
you can just stream it for free. Um, uh, that yeah, that is maybe deterring some of that potential inflow of cash, but um, but uh, it is also that 60 million is also significant because they're not sharing that money with anyone else. Whenever they announce, far as I know, whenever they announce the numbers for movies, that's like the pure amount of ticket sales that movie has made, meaning that amount will be split with both the movie theater and the production company.
Right.
Whereas that 60 million is Disney Plus, Disney gets all of that.
Yeah, because it's their platform, their streaming, their everything.
Mm. So I don't think Disney will ever, at least soon, move to an all digital format, but this is at least showing Disney that is a viable option, at least for the bigger movies like this. Again, not Cruella. That did not work out for them. There's clearly a reason why they decided to announce now, the Disney Plus Premier Access money as opposed to something like Mulan, which they just pretended didn't exist.
Yeah, that was, Still haven't seen that either, by the way. Nope. I didn't really know. But again, you didn't need to remake it. Yeah. You already had a great one.
This does also kind of reconfirm that Raya and the Last Dragon,
but
Raya and the Last Dragon kind of bombed because they never announced those numbers.
Yeah. But, which again, I mean, I don't like that movie. Wasn't like, it wasn't insane, but it was pretty good. I think it could have done a lot better. I think, but I am kind of surprised at this because Disney Plus, I feel like would have been, because it is kind of more of a kids-y movie. So I thought Disney Plus would kind of do better, but
yeah,
not.
It apparently only made 120 million, which is really not good for a Disney.
Like total, or like
as far as like on Box Office Mojo, which again, that's probably that number is definitely not including Premier Access, because even Black Widow right now is not showing that 60 million from Disney Plus.
Right.
That's 120 million in theaters. So
not great. Well, I mean, 15 of that was mine, but still, like,
yeah, I was. Why did they release this in March? I don't understand.
Yeah.
Like I get that you have to release it at some point, but
I think it's just deadlines. Like, it's like after a certain point.
Yeah, like something like Black Widow, honestly, could have afforded to be delayed even further.
Mm-hmm.
Assuming they didn't have an entire universe to plan around that. But
right.
If it was just on its own, I think they easily could have delayed it to November and been fine. But Raya and the Last Dragon, yeah, it was a time for that to come out. It should have made more, but it was never going to be $1 billion seller. But it should have been more than 120 mil. But oh well.
It's a victim of circumstance, but hopefully they make a sequel. Yeah, that was rough, but
yeah. I mean, it's on Disney Plus. I'm gonna watch it at some point.
Yeah, it's worth a watch. I recommend it.
Okay. Yeah, and maybe because of just people watching it for free on Disney Plus, maybe that'll encourage Disney either re-release it in theaters or do some kind of spin-off or sequel or something. I don't know. We'll see.
Hopefully. Then again, they kind of end pretty well, so we'll see.
Okay. And I haven't seen it. I don't know. Moving on with a little more Marvel stuff. Marvel's What If is premiering on August 11th.
Yep. I completely forgot this was happening. And I saw the new trailer. I was like, oh yeah.
It looks so good. That poster is just like, what is happening? Spider-Man has a Doctor Strange choke. Are you kidding me? Like, sure.
Everything is going on. Like, it is crazy. Like, I love this. This is great.
If Thanos Gamora, yes, please.
Yes. All of this, yeah. Like
Ultron Vision, like that doesn't make so much sense. Like,
like, what if it worked out? Like, I just think this is so cool. Like,
what if the like the Avengers that were in New York at the time was a different set of Avengers. Like that just I wanted, like, that was literally
Ooh.
one of the things I originally said when this was announced. I was like, I want one of the things to either be, what if everyone that should have been in New York was in New York, or what if it was just some other collection of Avengers, and it seemed like they're actually doing that, which is great.
It's like, dude, this is for, yeah, I think they're just, and it's so smart because they're literally just kind of like, all right, so we're just gonna take stuff that, people have either talked about or like, and I like that it's like animated too, because like there's more like, I guess, availability with that, because obviously, you had to put everyone in it. It's like, $1 million or whatever. But
Yeah.
it's still really awesome to like see that, you got this whole thing with like Killmonger and Iron Man and like, in
Yes.
the desert. And I'm just like, oh snap, you're going back to the beginning. And then there's like, yeah, Doctor Strange. Like there's so much going on
Yeah,
there.
like essentially, like just the Killmonger in the desert thing. Essentially, that was like they were just in the writers' room. They were just like, everyone, just throw out ideas. Like, just think of anything in Marvel, what makes sense, what could work, and we're like, Tony Stark was in an active war zone during the time period that it was confirmed that Killmonger was in the army. So he could he could be there when
Yeah.
Tony Stark is about to get blown up, and just like,
Yeah.
sure, roll with
Yeah.
it.
And then somehow Tony Stark finds out vibranium back in like 2000, was it 2008?
Yeah.
Like, and then, who knows where he is by the time, in 10 or so years. Like, goodness gracious.
Yeah. Apparently, not every single actor is
Oh
going to be
Lord,
returning
you
to
can
play their
bring this
character
back and
in.
like change everything.
Yeah, not every single actor is going to be returning to play their character in What If. We know that at least Doctor Strange, Iron Man, Captain America, and Captain Marvel are going to be different voice actors.
Right.
But I mean, it's an animated show. It's not technically canon, so like it doesn't really matter.
Right. And also, yeah, it's like the big thing for me is they look like the movie counterparts
Yeah.
still. Like that's kind of the bigger thing for me, because especially like now watching a lot of stuff, it's like, you look at it like even older like Marvel stuff, like the guy still kind of looked like Robert Downey Jr., even like in the 90s cartoon, like that's still like you could make the argument that was him, like
Yeah.
even though that was way before. So like the voices don't really have to, especially for the characters who played it for so long, it's like you kind of know what they sound like, so you can kind of just like in your head replace it if you really
Yeah.
wanted to. So like, but I think they're gonna obviously model their like tones after them anyway. So I think it'll be fine.
Yeah. So
But it also just kind of depends. The Marvel games, they were like good.
oh no, you go.
But I was like the Marvel games, they were talking about like, they didn't look the part as much, and I think that bothered people more than actually sound like.
Yeah.
So
Like in the Avengers game, they got six of the best voice actors on the planet. Laura Bailey, Troy Baker, Noah North, like all of these like S tier voice actors. Like
oh
Laura
yeah.
Bailey had voiced Black Widow and other stuff before, but it just didn't work. um, yeah, mostly because they all look bad. Black Widow
Yeah.
looks bad in that game. Iron Man and Captain America look bad.
Yeah.
But because these guys actually look good animated, and yeah, I'm excited. I am a little worried that because it might not technically be canon, or might not technically be like, some people might deem it not worth watching because of that. Because some people care so much about canon, which I'll actually get to more like in a segment in just a second. But like, because it is animated and it's not going to be technically canon, some people, it might not get like the fervor that Loki or WandaVision is getting, but I think it'll still be pretty good.
Yeah, and like my thing too is like if you like, and I understand like we're getting to the point where this stuff is so mainstream, it's not just comic book fans, but like anyone who's read a comic book understands that a lot of stories are just for funsies. You
Yep.
know what I mean? Like they're
Mhm.
like one-offs or just whatever. I mean, literally Marvel Zombies, that's already what it was before.
Yeah.
It was just like a hey, what if we did this? Like it wasn't obviously not canon, but I
Mhm.
mean like it just kind of like to figure thing out. So it's kind of like just have it's just to have fun with it because it's great having great characters, but it's like sometimes you want to write things a different way just to see what would go, how it would go. Like, it should be
Yeah.
fun. But,
Yeah. And like if they continue to have great ideas like these, I obviously wouldn't be upset if they made it, multiple seasons of this or spun it off to like other stuff in the style. Like apparently Marvel's already confirmed that will be future animated Marvel shows in the MCU-esque timeline going forward. So like whether that be
interesting.
What If season 2, 3, etc., or just other animated stuff, like yes, sure.
Interesting. That's kind of cool too, because like see where this goes with animation, because they're trying to like. I feel like things when done well, because like the stuff looks really good.
Mm-hmm.
Like this stuff looks like super crisp, like
Mm-hmm.
graphic novel come to life kind of style. So I think that's really cool. So like if they have other shows like this, that'd be great.
Yeah. Or like legitimately, I would love a full animated show based on the style of the Miss Minutes like overview of the TVA from Loki episode 1.
Mm.
That like 50s, 60s animated style. Like I would love that.
Mm-hmm. So entertaining. There's so much in it.
Mm.
But yeah, that's one thing I really like when like again, it's kind of like I know live action is like the definitive entertainment for a lot of people because it's like it looks real, but at the same time, for me, it's always like this is kind of like what we talked about with like the DC movies, and it's like it is comic books after all, so like
Yes.
a lot of times it looks best in like an animated form because it's like that's the most natural look for it. So like these look obviously there's a big budget, but these look insanely good. Like,
yes,
it looks like a movie, just not like.
um so kind of a tangent, but kind of on the same topic. I have actually been watching through that Avengers Assemble show from like the mid 2000s, right? Mid like 2010s. And it's fine. Like it is definitely like, a an Avengers show. Like it assumes you already know who all these characters are, references stuff from X-Men, Fantastic Four, like other villains that aren't actually in the show, but you just assume they fought before. Like, but the animation is a little weird. A lot of the action doesn't have much weight to it. The characters are good. Like I like most of the voice actors. I like the characterization of these characters, but like the show itself isn't as good as something like a Young Justice or even the what's it called? Mighty Avengers? No, Earth's Mightiest Heroes Avengers show right before that. But like I'm like I am enjoying it, but I have a feeling whatever animated show Marvel makes going forward will probably be a lot better than Avengers Assembled.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Because I mean, a lot of time when I think about like like superhero shows, it was like it's like the '90s Spider-Man and X-Men were very good, and then after that, I kind of didn't really watch any Marvel shows growing up, which is kind of why I naturally like grew up with DC more because it was like
Yeah.
there was Batman, Justice League, Teen Titans, like all these shows for years and years and years that were like really good. So it was like, I'm gonna I'm gonna learn about these more. But now I think it's good to like, Marvel can do very well, but also like, obviously the movies have, been outstanding to say the least. But yeah, I think it's time to come back to like the animated world and show like they can do this really well too. And I think that's really exciting.
Yeah, because that's kind of where my mind was going with Marvel's Avenger. Like I really love the MCU. I think obviously I believe everything the MCU has done has outdone anything DC has tried in the past 10 years. Like the like movie, like as far as like live action movies, that is clearly Marvel's domain. When it comes to animation, Marvel, stay in your lane. That is DC's territory right now. Like Avengers Assemble, it's clearly like going for that like Justice League Unlimited style thing where like villains just kind of pop up or characters interact in ways where you just assume they've been around for like interacting like this forever. So like, which it's fine. It's kind of what the ideal thing when it comes to a superhero show that I want to see, but it's not done nearly as well as a Young Justice or something like that. So I'm just like, I I'd rather watch a DC show.
Right?
Yeah.
It kind of just, yeah, it's just like how it is. And again, I think that's going to change with this Marvel thing, because with What If, obviously, it's going to be more, alternate movie based. But I think, yeah, going forward, if they start having shows, I don't know if they're going to be like, on the same like canon is probably not the MCU, but like, still, if it's like interesting stuff with like maybe characters that we don't see as much of,
Yeah.
I'm all for it.
Mm-hmm. Or even like kind of having similar to, okay, let me kind of click my thoughts for a second. Similar to how different characters are being first introduced in their own show, like She-Hulk or Miss Marvel or stuff like that, or Moon Knight, etc. Maybe it could be a thing where like these animated shows could also kind of be backdoor pilots for like the X-Men or Ghost Rider or something like that. And then if it's like these are technically canon, just in a different style, like I think people might not necessarily be able to wrap their head around that or like be like okay with it. Like purists are insane with stuff like that, but I think it could be like an easier way to kind of fill out the world while also being like if they showed up in a movie, it wouldn't be that confusing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that'd be kind of cool too. Like, yeah, they brought like something, like especially like if they like imagine if they made like another X-Men show or something.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, purists would probably be like, oh, it's never gonna be like my '90s X-Men, but like it could still be done like with a modern twist and be done very well.
Yeah. Also, first of all, the 90s X-Men show is fine. It has a great theme song.
It does.
But like it is a 90s show.
Very. It hits you in the face with the 90s.
Animation has come such a long way since then. Like it is a very fun show. Like that Batman 89, sorry, Batman 91. Yeah, 91, The Adventures of Superman, like all of these are great shows, but like they are a little dated. So like it just kind of bugs me at times when people are like, this is the definitive version of these characters. This is like nothing can be better than this thing from the 90s. Like, I don't know. I feel like it is very possible that they for example, a Batman animated show made in 2022 could be better than Batman 91. Like it's possible because of the way animation has evolved in the past 30 years.
Right. But, yeah, and that's what it's going to come down to, because it's like, yeah, like I have no doubts the animation could look better by any means. Obviously, it's been going on 30 years. So I mean, if the animation wasn't as good, that'd be a huge red flag. Yeah. But yeah, I think it's just kind of like, can they, and I think they can do, like, if it's written well, that's all you really need, because the animation kind of by default is going to be better.
Yeah,
I would feel like. So like, as long as it's written well,
and especially since now, like, let's assume, like, just for comparison's sake, let's assume Disney Plus does do a new animated X-Men show is like kind of canon to the MCU. Spearheading that show technically would be Kevin Feige. He'd at least have final say on everything that happens in that show. He helped produce the 2000s X-Men movies. He worked on X-Men 1, 2, and 3. So I think this man knows how to write for X-Men.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure that like the writing would be at least as good as the 90s X-Men show, and at least be, hopefully a better animation than the 90s X-Men show. So like anyone who's like, there's no like no like this. There's no way they can do better than the '90s X-Men show. You're kidding yourself.
It's like, I mean, it's possible. Yeah, it's just I don't know, but it does open that contention. We kind of say sometimes, especially when I think of like Mulan and stuff like that, where it's like, you know, it shows really good. It's like, like at best it could be like parallel, but it's probably not going to be better. Now, granted, obviously some things are a lot better than others, so it doesn't always apply.
Mm-hmm.
But I think when some people have like a A to S tier ranking on something, they kind of just get that immediate fear of like, no, this can't be what kind of like how
Yeah.
we feel about the Avatar show. It's like
Mm-hmm.
there's like, the chance of it being better is like almost non-existent. However,
No.
you know what I mean? It's like you could like that's what I mean. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like, all right, they can make, granted the animation will probably be a little better because it's been 15 years. So like, that makes sense. But at the same time, it's like, like
Yeah, it's not all
maybe
the
you
same.
shouldn't try it. You might break it. Like it's not worth it. Like,
Yeah, I don't know.
right. So like, I see the concern.
Yeah, but like in this case, it's not like they're remaking the X-Men show, where it's not like they're
true.
Again,
Like,
this is all assuming an X-Men show will be made in the style.
Yeah.
It's not like it's a continuation of that show. It is a brand new show with brand new writers, brand new ideas.
Right.
And essentially what I'm getting at is,
and they don't have to go the exact same directions.
Essentially what I'm getting at is that animated Marvel stuff has a lot of potential that I think Marvel just hasn't been able to squeeze out of it really ever. At least as much as it could, outside of maybe like a couple of Spider-Man things here and there.
Yes.
Yeah, 90s something Spider-Man is actually still like holds up fairly well.
Yeah.
And also Spectacular Spider-Man only got 2 seasons, but should have been longer, but whatever. I tried watching the Ultimate Spider-Man show. I got 5 episodes in, hard quit. I cannot stand that kid.
Yeah, no, dude. It's not interesting. It's just kind of weird. It kind of feels like it's like a wannabe like super like a wannabe like Avengers Assemble kind of thing. You know what I mean? It's kind of just like it's not even really about Spider-Man, really.
Yeah. Like I could understand introducing the squad of, White Tiger, Iron Fist, Luke Cage, Nova. Yeah. I could understand adding them in like season 2 once you've already established the world and stuff, but like by end of episode 2 already having him joining Shield and then becoming part of the squad and having it be like more about them than actually the Spider-Man, that was just bad planning.
Yeah, it wasn't that good, but I bet it helps sell toys.
True. And
but,
and also that did kind of give those characters representation that they've never really had, and they weren't going to get in Avengers Assemble or Earth's Mightiest Heroes or any other Avengers thing. Like we're not going to get White Tiger in the MCU probably ever. Nova maybe will be coming around within the next 2 or 3 years, but like it's still going to wait a while for that character. Iron Fist and Luke Cage might show back up in the MCU, maybe, but like, will the Netflix ones actually count? We're still not sure about that. I don't know. So in that way, I appreciate the show for introducing those characters, but they introduced them way too early, and they got annoying, very annoying.
But the animation stuff Marvel definitely needs some work, which is weird because it's kind of like DC's kind of been all over the animated stuff for the last 20 or so years, and Marvel's absolutely crushed the movie industry. So it kind of like it's a give and take kind of.
Yeah. It was like for a while it was like Marvel was really good with their live action movies. DC is better with their live action and live action shows and cartoons. Then their live action shows fell off the cliff, and they haven't really made an animated show in a while. Outside of, I guess, season 3 of Young Justice. So They need to get back on
Oh
that.
yeah, but even Young Justice, which I hate saying it, I don't. Yeah, I don't know.
Season
Even
3
Young
was
Justice, I don't even
good,
like.
not
It's
great.
not. I don't like how they're writing it anymore. Like because like I don't mind the major plot points as far as like it's going for like me, the meta trapping and so like, I think that's fine. I just hate they're not. You're not following the same characters throughout the show, and I think that
Yeah.
bothers me the most
Hmm.
because like it's it annoys me because it's like I don't care about these new characters. I want to talk about what's Nightwing, what's Artemis up to, what's
Hmm.
Miss Martian. It's like, oh no, let's talk about Halo and like I mean they're cool, but like I'm not interested in them nearly as much as
Yeah.
original people.
I'm
That's
not
why I'm
interested.
here.
I'm not interested in watching three different characters voiced by Troy Baker talk to each other. Like I'm just I like Troy Baker, but like it's so obvious these all three are the same
It's
person.
like,
Anyway,
man, you must hate watching Clone Wars. Like,
but at least then they're all kind of the same character. Like that is different.
yeah, I mean, it makes more sense, but
um,
yeah, I mean, yeah. And somehow it's weird, but somehow you still kind of get there's you can like tell their voices are different, which is still weird because they don't even
yeah.
like sound that different, but you just kind of know. You're like, oh, that sounds like Fives.
Mm.
But but anyway, it's like it just annoys because it's like I feel like if the show stayed around the original characters, obviously not Wally because spoiler alert if you hadn't seen the show from like what 2012, I think.
Yeah. He's probably coming back next season.
So like,
Probably
Wally's
coming back
dead. So
next
like,
season. We'll see.
but it still should be a yeah. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of don't want them to, but I don't know. Then again, yeah, I do.
Yeah,
I
you
don't.
do.
I want it to be about the main characters again. It kind of annoys me that it's not. They're kind of like background characters now. They had some like Nightwing-ish centered episodes, kind of, but
Yeah.
not
But
really.
considering how the next season is probably going to be heavily based on Red Hood, you know, Nightwing should be a pretty focal point of that arc at least. So there's that.
That's what you would think that. You would think that, but I still don't trust it yet. Because like even the part we got like, one episode that was about like, Tim Drake Robin, thank the Lord. And like,
Yeah.
they even had like I have never seen spoiler in anything that's not a comic book in my entire life. And I
Mm-hmm.
was like, are you kidding me? They got Stephanie Brown. Like I was so shocked. Like Anne Orphan and actually did the character correctly, believe it or not. So like, it's like,
They didn't have any
like
lines, but they were
now
in the
I kind of just
show.
want a Bat Family show. I don't even want Young
Yeah.
Justice anymore,
Yeah,
which kind
like
of stinks because it's like,
yeah, like in that way, I think Marvel had a decent idea with their like mid 2010s thing of having like Avengers Assemble being the main show while also having
right,
Hulk and the Agents of Smash and Ultimate Spider-Man all kind of running it. Yeah, it's great. And the Guardians show also, like kind of all running parallel to each other
yeah,
as like the Marvel block on Disney XD like every like Friday night or something. So like that's like actually I think a pretty good idea, and I think
yeah,
DC could have done something like that and spin off like if you're going to have Young Justice focus on these other characters like, as the show progresses, which I think is fine, have the characters that we know people enjoy have their own stuff like a Bat Fam show or like or even I could even see Artemis and Wally having their own show or assuming he
mm-hmm.
came back to life or Calder having his own show like these just I feel
Mm-hmm.
make sense but
Yeah, you kind of I don't know, it's just hard because you like, I almost like I forgot about excuse me, Aquaman this season. Like I kind of like totally forgot about him and like, it's just I don't know.
huh.
Like I understand as shows go on, characters come and go, but it kind of felt like, it's like like a lot of the shows on, it's like, I don't, not that I doubt you watch Grey's Anatomy, but like if a Grey's Anatomy didn't have like the main character in it after like so many seasons, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, again, I'm not a huge fan of the show, but like even I would be like, that's kind of weird, isn't it? Like, he
Yeah.
started with this character and they're not even in it now. It's like it kind of just like that happens. I've seen that happen in other shows, and then the show kind of falls off because like you're not. I think people it still did well because people were just happy it's back, but
Yeah.
it's like I don't know, man. I'm not.
Yeah, like
I don't love this.
especially for the way Young Justice is structured, they just kind of assume you've read a comic before. Like they pull some obscure stuff out at you, and you're like,
Oh
you know what
yeah,
this is. Like I don't, but now I do kind of like
right. And
going
I
with
love that.
going on that same logic. They could be like, oh yeah, this thing happened in the Nightwing show. Moving on, like like that's all you need to know. This thing happened in universe, and now we're dealing with it in this show as
Yeah,
well. Like I think that'd be fine.
yeah. And like they could have even the what outsiders because like it's weird because it's like they have the outs like it's there's so many teams because
Mhm.
there's still the original team kind of with Viv Martians kind of leading people, which I don't even know who's on that team anymore.
Mm,
There's the outsider because like Beast Boy is kind of like leading his own thing kind of.
yeah,
And then also there's like the Halo, which they're
the Halo was
also at, but then there's also Batman Incorporated and the Just, you know what I mean? There's like
yeah.
five, six teams.
Wasn't
And
Halo
it's kind of like,
part
I'm
of the
not saying you need
Outsiders?
5 or 6 shows. Say what?
Wasn't Halo part of the Outsiders?
I don't know. That's the kind of thing. Because I thought it was like Brion,
Mm,
Halo, and Voyager were kind of their own thing.
right. Yeah.
And then
Mm.
it was like the Outsiders was kind of, it was like Donna Troy, or not Donna Troy, but what's the other one? How did I forget her name? I know her.
Was it
Cassie, right?
right?
Cassie,
Yeah.
Wonder Girl, Beast Boy, Blue Beetle, I think
Static?
Static, maybe I
Yeah.
don't remember, or maybe he's on the team. I don't remember. I still like that they added him,
Cyborg?
but I
Was
feel
he
like
on
they
that
don't use
team?
him.
I think Cyborg was there.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. I forgot Cyborg was a character. That's right. Which I don't know. There's a lot going on, which is usually good, but it's like they keep intersecting stories, and I
Mm.
don't even know what's going on. You have to you have to have it's like I feel like I am pretty knowledgeable about DC, and I still feel like I'm like confused half the
Mm.
time who's doing what.
Yeah.
Like
Like I
unless you
didn't
have
know
like a
Geoforce was a character until the show.
right? No, I had never heard of Gila Force or Halo. Like I
Mm.
knew Voyager, but I didn't know the other two. Like
No, didn't even know about him.
he's popped up a couple. I think he even had an appearance in one of the Justice League like Unlimited episodes, the like Highfather one. But it's like
Admittedly, there were a couple episodes of
very brief.
there
Like
were a couple
he
episodes.
looks totally different. But like
Yeah, there were a couple episodes of Unlimited that I saw the description of the episode and just kind of skipped because I knew it was just I didn't really care that much.
yeah, that's true.
Anything with after a certain point, anything with Green Arrow or Supergirl, I just kind of didn't care.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, some of those episodes kind of got old, and like it was weird too because like that show kind of did the same thing again. Not that it was like when it really mattered, they brought in the big guns with like
Mm.
Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, but like yeah, a lot of episodes really felt like filler. It was kind of just which makes sense because again, there's like 100 something leaguers by this
Yeah.
point, but like yeah, it kind of felt if the show had still been about the main ones and then you just have other people around, I think it would have been stronger and not
Mm.
have those walls. But I think it was okay. But yeah, I don't know. That's my 2 cents on Young Justice and I. But anyway, we were on Marvel stuff once upon a time. But
Yep. Yeah, in conclusion,
sorry.
I'm excited for season 4 of Young Justice. I'm excited for season 4 of Young Justice,
Yeah.
but at the same time, there's a chance it could be as disappointing as season 3, which I kind of liked, but wasn't as good as season 2, or especially not as season 1. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's coming out at some point this year, I think, but not yet, I guess. Do we know? Do we have even a closer release date for that?
They're so cryptic about this. I mean, I remember when it came out and no one even told me. I was just like, what?
Mm.
Young Justice.
I think it's called Phantoms.
Yes, it is. Which is awesome, but
Yeah.
Oh, October 21st. Okay.
Oh, that's
Okay,
like
that's not
I think
bad.
that's the day
But
of the DC fandom, or like the day after, like right
that
around then.
actually makes it
Yeah.
that actually makes total sense. Okay,
Mhm.
cool.
Okay.
So yeah, that'll come out and then we can like yeah, it's probably gonna do the whole like one episode thing again, but
Yeah.
which I don't know. How do you feel about that? Do you think that like for most shows, do you think that's okay?
For
Like,
most shows, yeah, I really do. I think people have gotten so spoiled by streaming now that they just like think because that's how Netflix does it, everyone should do it that way.
mm,
But I think I would have liked Invincible, for example, as a show less if I could just binge it all in one day because I was able to, take in stuff, you
mm-hmm.
know, like take it in, think about it for a week, discuss with my brother, discuss with people online about it, and then go in the next episode with new theories, new just like especially with something like Invincible, where very heavy stuff happens at the end of episode one. I'm like, yes, I do want to know what happens next, but yeah, you need some time to process that. Like,
Right.
um, and also like especially with Young Justice, it was originally a show that aired on Cartoon Network once a
Right.
week anyway. So like, I think that just makes sense for the style of show it is. Um, Falcon and Winter Soldier maybe could have gotten away with doing it all at the same time, but both WandaVision and Loki really benefit from the once a week.
Oh, 100, especially WandaVision.
Yes.
Because like it really because you really need and I think honestly too, I think and one thing I think that Netflix kind of suffers from is that like because they give shows a week to like, marinate, you get people
Mm-hmm.
talking about it more. And that, word of mouth and people talking about it and it's big online, like everyone kind of gets sucked into it more. Because I feel like if you have a show just on there already full, you're like, oh man, the show's great. You're like, oh, okay, I'll just watch it sometime. You're not,
Yep.
you've already kind of like, you kind of like missed it, but it's just kind of all there. So you can just watch it whenever. Versus when it's like week to week, you kind of feel like, okay, I want to be part of the wave.
Mm-hmm.
I
And
think that
that
helps
way,
a
like
lot.
even if you haven't like Invincible, I think I jumped in when season three was airing. Or sorry, when like episode three had just finished, and then me and my brother started watching it. So we were able to watch like one a day, like 3 days in a row. Um, but then we were able to then experience it once a week after that.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so like even if you kind of jump in late, you don't completely miss it. Whereas like let's say you like I think the Crown season three like came out recently on
Mm-hmm.
Netflix. Let's say you were really into maybe season four, whatever. Let's say season three just came out. You've already seen season one and two, but you just haven't gone around to season three yet. Your friend, who was also watching it like at the same time as you, did binge it all in one weekend. They come to you and be like, "Oh, did you watch The Crown this weekend?" You're like, "No, I haven't gotten to it yet." And they're like, "Oh, okay, I'll get back to you you know when you've seen it." Like 2 weeks go by and you finally get a chance to see it. You go back to your friend like, oh, like, dude, I finally got to see The Crown. They're like, I watched that 2 weeks ago. Like, yeah, that was good. That's the conversation. Like,
Right.
you can't really talk about it. Like, you all either the person who originally was hyping it up had already forgotten about it, or there's so much to like dive into for all at once that you kind of can't talk about any of it. Does that make sense?
Right. It's like you can't concentrate because you have a whole season to discuss all at once instead of like, going episode by, it's like, oh, we're only on the third episode. There's only so much we can discuss. What do you think this is going to happen? That and
Mm-hmm.
that. Like, there's a lot easier to die. It's like taking your time. It's like, you can pick your part through the smaller sections.
Yeah, and that's kind of why I think Falcon and Winter Soldier maybe could have gotten away with having it be just all at once because there wasn't nearly as much to theorize about. There wasn't as much to like
Mm.
get invested in that way. There was obviously still like conversation about it and still people talking about it online and stuff, but like it wasn't there wasn't really a mystery element to it like there is in Loki, for example. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it's
Um,
like it's more. Yeah, and I think that's the thing. It's like Falcon and Winter Soldier had less of a captivating thing. It was kind of more just like here's some action for those of you who want it, but you weren't like, oh my gosh, what's gonna happen next? You kind of had an idea like, okay, something crazy is gonna happen, but they're gonna figure it out.
yeah.
And like, Loki, we still don't know what's going on. It feels like. So like,
Yeah, one episode left. Still don't know what's happening.
right? It's still like, how did this even happen? We're still,
But with Young Justice season
and then
4,
with WandaVision, it was kind of, like he got it was kind of like Invincible. He got pieces.
yeah,
Good.
yeah, with Young Justice season 4, I think solely because just the vibes of the show, I have that so intrinsically linked with it being like a Saturday morning cartoon type thing, or I guess Friday night cartoon thing. I'm okay with watching it week by week.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's fair. It's like the episodes are shorter, so it's less to analyze and stuff.
Yeah,
So
same
it's
with Bad
not
Batch.
as
Like
yeah, it's true, right?
yeah, I've gotten used to it, so it's not a big deal.
Yeah, like it's fine, but it's not as like it's not the same when it's like a Loki or the other shows because it's like it's longer. There's a lot more to digest and like things. Bad Batch is kind of like, oh, that was cool, and like yeah, there's theories, there's stuff like that, and people still talk about it, but it's not like you know ginormous encompassing. Like I can't like man, let me think about this all weekend, and I'm just like, oh, cool,
yeah.
But like. It's just different shows. It's how it is. But yeah, maybe season 4 gets crazy. Maybe the whole Jason Todd thing gets wild. They got Damien on there, and Young Justice does like to do time skips. So maybe Damien will be old enough to like do some fighting stuff. So who knows? But and again, I'm like, if they're still doing time skips, how old is Batman at this point?
Pfizer spit. I guess I don't know.
Yeah,
he fell in there a couple of times. He's still 25.
Right.
But yeah, future Marvel stuff looking good.
Yeah.
Kevin Feige also recently confirmed that Agatha Harkness will definitely will return in future Marvel projects.
Oh yes, 1000%.
Yeah. Whether that be in a future Doctor Strange thing or possibly in the Thunderbolts or Dark Avengers or something like that they're building up. Like you don't get someone like Catherine Hahn, who is a fan favorite in everything she's ever been in. You don't get her just for a one-off thing. Like she absolutely is coming back. Yeah.
Yeah, no, and I think, and it's gonna be cool because they kind of said, like I like how they ended it. She's still all, that was a good way of not having to kill off the villain, but obviously making sure they can't like, hurt anyone, kind of. Yep. So I think I'm gonna like it when it's kind of like, we're gonna go get some help. Where are we going? And it's like Westview, and it's like, oh
no. Or maybe Mephisto will actually show up and free her from her curse, and then she'll.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah. Then you can't say that all our theories were wrong. These weren't right yet.
It's like, so I was correct from a certain point of view.
Exactly. As we kind of going off that, moving over to Star Wars. Star Wars Visions is premiering on September 22nd.
Yes.
Dude, when
Yes. Go.
Star Wars anime. Need I say more?
Yes.
Star Wars anime.
That's all you need to say.
Literally, like when this was first announced to be like an anthology series with a bunch of different anime studios doing stuff, I literally said, I want Studio Trigger, the guys behind Kill la Kill and Gurren Lagann, and like back in just a second. Apparently, Studio Trigger used to be Gainax, who did Gurren Lagann and Neon Genesis Evangelion. But now the more recent stuff, Gurren Lagann and Gridman, So like they're like known for like stupidly flashy, just awe-inspiring, just like crazy animation. I when this was first announced, I said on the podcast, I want Studio Trigger specifically to get in on some Star Wars action. And boy, did that trailer deliver. Like when it was first revealed, like was first announced, Star Wars Visions coming September 22nd. It just had 4 screenshots of some of the different anthology shows. One of them was like these two people standing on like 2 different buildings, which is like this like red light on one side, one blue light in the other, and just like these energy beams intersecting. And I'm like, I literally showed my brother. I was like, you will never guess what show this is from. And he gets like 4 different animes. I was like, nope, that's a Star Wars.
So cool, dude. I it's one of those things where you're like, I can't believe it took this long to make this happen, but you're not even a little upset because it's finally happening.
Yeah. And there's another one that's like way more realistic, with like people in like full on samurai gear. There's one that's apparently a musical on Tatooine. Like, sure, why not?
Yeah.
like,
and I just love because like again, Star Wars has some of the most like creative looking characters, and it's like 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 anime characters look ridiculous. Like like how cool some of these aliens are gonna look. Yep. Like I mean, it's like these new concepts, and like even like what we saw was like super cool, and like and it's like this is Star Wars. You kind of forget everyone knows Star Wars. Star Wars isn't just an us thing. Star Wars is a worldwide everybody thing. So even these like anime designers, like they've had dreams of like, oh, I would love to design a spaceship for Star Wars, and now it's like it's time. Like this is, oh my gosh, this is so great.
So I kind of mentioned a little earlier about how like purists really annoy me about certain things. So in almost every single comment under like the announcement tweets that I saw about this, almost every single comment was like, is this show canon? I'm like, I'm sorry. There are some people that are legitimately saying, if this isn't canon, I don't care. And I'm like, do you people not know how to have fun? Like,
right?
Like, who cares what era
doesn't have to be canon,
or what era this is happening in, or why it's happening, who these characters are, or if it breaks anything? I don't care. It's Star Wars anime. That's enough for me. I just want to have a good, fun time watching a Star Wars thing and turn my brain off watching at the fun colors. Like, I don't care.
Yeah, like it. And again, like it's so like because like at the end like like this doesn't even have to have like any like characters that we know. Like this could have completely new characters and it's fine because we're not here for a continuation on a certain person's story. We're here to see Star Wars look like anime and be awesome because of it. Like, I mean, that's all that really matters. It's not like, are we going to finally tie up those years between this and that? It's like, dude, like, no, this is just for fun. Like you said, this is for fun. This is because this is a lifelong dream. I mean, even, George Lucas himself was like basically samurai in space was the description. So, I mean, it don't get more samurai than, anime. So, I mean, like this is ideal.
Like the Studio Trigger one specifically, like one of the screenshots is like this cool guy with a red lightsaber and all dark armor that's clearly not Darth Vader, but is clearly a Sith in black armor, standing in front of a big platoon of stormtroopers. And then there's some guy or some like person standing in front of that character with a green lightsaber, or maybe it was blue. And like that is clearly set at least somewhere either right before the original trilogy or right like immediately after the original trilogy, or somewhere in between there. but that character doesn't exist anywhere in that timeline that we know of. But who cares? It's gonna look
Right?
awesome.
That's all that matters. Especially like there's a lot of things in Star Wars that can be going on outside of the main story, especially like in like the prequel era too.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can just have some Jedi like they don't, you know, some new characters because there's a billion Jedi Knights. You can just have them show up somewhere, or you know, even after. Like it could be like you can make this
Mm-hmm.
so like there's so much freedom with this. And I
Yeah,
think that's really awesome, and it kind of like it's really exciting. Just
like essentially what this show is kind of like Star Wars what if. Like I want a
mm-hmm.
show like that. Like, Marvel is doing their thing where the show is kind of canon but not really. Like it's set in the same universe, but anything can happen. Why can't that happen with Star Wars? Like I see so many people online after the What If trailer came out be like, I want Star Wars to have a what if. I'm like, it kind of is with Visions, yet you same people are so concerned about canon with these anime Star Wars shows that like,
Yeah, which is weird because it's like, how is it canon if it's a what if? It's
yeah.
literally not possible.
I like Star Wars anime is just that concept is so cool, so engaging, so enticing to me that like I can't imagine carrying that. Then again, Star Wars people are particularly weird about canon, where like they like write off certain movies or even certain scenes and certain things as canon or not canon, or certain books usurp stuff that happens in the actual movies just when the books aren't canon anymore. Like the canon doesn't matter. Like it literally does not matter. Like
There's
Star Wars.
plenty of like canon material we can talk about right now. Like there's like let's just have some fun, like you said.
Mhm. Like those books still exist. Those graphic novels, video games, whatever still exist. You can still play them. You can still theorize stuff based on that material,
Mm-hmm.
and you can still be canon to you. But don't fight tooth and nail over what is not canon. It's all just a silly kids property that you can have fun enjoying in your own way. That's what
Yeah.
matters here. And if Star
Right.
Wars
And
anime
yeah, and
is
there's a
fun for
lot.
people, who cares?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's all I care. Like it doesn't matter. Like, bro, it's not even that serious. Like, this is just something that is just awesome. Don't
Mm-hmm.
ruin it because it's not canon or oh, I don't like this art style. Anime's dumb or like, and I'm just like, bro, like millions of not billions of people think this is epic. Just
Mm-hmm.
bro, like, just get out of the way. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this is gonna
Exactly.
be awesome. Leave it alone.
But
Like,
yeah, September 22nd, like that does confirm that going forward, all Disney Plus stuff will be on Wednesdays because both August 11th and September 22nd are both Wednesdays.
mm,
But I mean, it's as much as I would prefer, like Star Wars Fridays, Marvel Wednesdays, etc. Whatever. But like, as long as it is happening, doesn't really matter when. Just
yeah.
yeah.
I mean, that's the, yeah. As long as we get the content, when we get the content is kind of, I mean, yeah, like it might be more organized that way, but like, who cares? Like,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, like Star Wars Visions, I don't know if they necessarily, I know it isn't even out yet, but I don't think they necessarily confirmed it as like an ongoing thing. But if both What If and Star Wars Visions do very well, and if they still have, if like the studios that are making that still have plenty of ideas, that still want to be creative in those worlds, please continue that or release stuff in that same style. Like there are still several other anime studios that I would love to just see go ham on Star Wars stuff. Like who cares if it's canon? I just want to see cool Star Wars stuff.
yeah, I mean, dude, this sounds awesome. And, so it looks like some characters are gonna be, characters we know, some are gonna be complete. It's kind of like interesting. Like, do you remember like the Batman Gotham Knight, like when it had like the different anime styles of Batman they had, where it was like
Yeah.
I think it was like 5 or 6 studios. It's kind of like that, but I feel like it's going to be on a much bigger scale.
Mm-hmm.
So like, yeah, you take a world-renowned, concept character, or in this case, like just a whole series that's beloved by everybody, and just put it in anime and make it work. Like, this could be awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I'm for it 100%.
Yeah. I think that's all the topics I have to discuss today. Do you have anything else you want to discuss or bring up?
That's all I've got from here.
Okay. So with that, we'll see you all next time.
Take care, guys.